Okay, great. I think we are fine. So again, thanks a lot for attending the session. What we will cover today is reports and dashboard in a new Salesforce in a Lightning environment. Basically, the outcome of the session today is for everyone on this call being able to create their own report and dashboard, should they need to. After the training session, you'll be able to navigate the reports and navigate the dashboards with ease, understanding each function that's available. You'll understand the relationship between the reports and dashboards in Salesforce, because they're closely related. You will understand the outline of the reports. You will understand the filters available in the reports. You will see the charting functions and also the formatting options of the reports. And last but not least, obviously, you'll be able to build the reports and dashboards, hopefully fairly quickly. Now, just a quick note, the environment we are testing or we are working on today is the Stage Sandbox. So please excuse if there will be a little bit of a lag here and there, or maybe an error message here or there as well. So before we get right into the reports tab, just a few general comments. As with every object in Salesforce, it'll take you a little bit to learn it. Even after today's session, if you just spend a little bit more time after, just half an hour here, half an hour there, trying to build your report, play around with it, you'll get much better take on the object. Again, it just takes a little bit of practice, right? It is very straightforward, right? The way the Salesforce reports are done, very straightforward. It's meant to be run by end user, right? It's not meant to be run by some super admin or sales operations for you. You should be able to run it. That said, very important, before you can start running reports, you need to understand the object that you want to query. So if you're in a sales team, you may want to query the opportunities object. If you sit in a client service, you'll probably want to run some cases reports. If you within a legal or contract team, maybe you're after contracts in Salesforce, and so on and so forth. So we have a variety of people on this call. Everyone from different area, different level of experience. So I would recommend before you start digging into reports and trying to run a report, you need to understand the fields behind it, right? That's the most important, really. It's not the reporting that's difficult, it's the fields behind, right? So today we will quickly cover the opportunity reporting mostly, but don't let me confuse it. You will not, we will not cover opportunity in depth, right? This is just to kind of demonstrate the reporting capability on that object, right? But you're not gonna, we're not gonna cover opportunities, right? So opportunity object, right, in general, the fields, the key fields on that object, they will kind of run through quickly now and use in our reporting demonstration. Opportunity owner feels like the account name where opportunity sit. Feels like the close date that sales rep is expecting to close this opportunity by. Feels like product, opportunity products on that opportunity, and so on and so forth, right? So those are kind of key fields. There is a total opportunity value field as well, right, which tells me the opportunity value. So I'm going to be querying these fields when running a report, and there is also a field called stage, which tells me how far along sales rep is in particular opportunity. So going back to the reports tab. So with all these behind us, let's get right into the reports. So first thing first, when you click on the reports tab, right, all of you will have that tab to be able to run your own reports. You will see a little bit, so regarding the organization of this tab, you will see a bunch of views, pre-built views that are there to help you find the report that you're after. You see your most recent reports that you touched. You will see the report that you created directly. You will see your personal reports that you saved into your private folder. You will see all reports if you need to search all reports. So these are the reports view, right? There are also folders, right? So every report is saved in the folder. So we, at the moment, in the testing environment, we have these folders in there, right? You can go to the folder, and you will see reports inside that particular folder. I'll leave it loading. There it is. It just takes a little while. Okay, so we are now in the folder called field trip reports, and there is 2 reports in there. All right. So going back to the view, we have we have all the folders there, folders that I created, folders that somebody shared with me, and my favorites. Right? You can tag any report or any folder as being your favorite, the one that you want to use, and then it'll pop up here. So there are a few views that you can use to quickly get to your report that you're after. On this side here, on the right side, we can see the few other functions around the reports. We see that we have some columns here, right? So we have the report names, who created it, which folder it sits, right? So right now I'm looking at all the reports that I created myself. I quickly see their names. I see which folder they sit under. I see when they created, when they're last modified as well, right? You can also change these fields. If you feel like you don't need to see who created it and when, you can easily change those fields in the layout, so you don't see the particular column that you don't need to see. Okay, you'll quickly see a few other actions we can do in here. We can obviously create a new report. Right. And I see some other buttons here. That's only because I'm admin, so don't worry about the classic. This will not be there. So obviously I can go through the report directly. I can create a new report. And then we can also, if you click at the little triangle at the end, you will get furthermore actions on that report, right? We can run the report, which means go into the report and run it. We can edit the report. We can subscribe to the report, right? So what does subscribe mean? Subscribe means that you will receive the report in a designed period, right? So if I click a subscribe on a particular report, right, I can subscribe to the report and get a report results to myself or to other people in a desired frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, which days, what time, and whether it's just me or to other people, right? You can locate more people that are Salesforce users, and you can basically send them the report results. Okay, so that's what the subscribe means. Once subscribe, you'll see a little tick box here, so you see which reports are you subscribing to. You can quickly unsubscribe as well, just by going here and unsubscribing the report. You can export the report you can export the data from the report into the Excel if you have particular permission to do so. Okay, so that's around the navigation around the folder structure. Now let's look into the report. So I'm going to edit the report here. Okay, so this is the basic layout of the report builder that you will use when building the report. So let's get ourselves kind of comfortable with the screen. This is the screen that you will use when building any report or modifying any report. So on the left side, we have 2 tabs here. We have the outline tab and filters. Right. And you see then that the outline tab shows you a few functions here, which we'll cover. On the right side here, you actually see the report preview. Right. These are limited number of records that you are previewing, right? It's not the entire report. If you want to see entire report, you need to click Run button to run the report, right? So let me quickly run this report. This is how the report runs with all records, right? But let's get back to the edit first. So this is the report builder that we're going to be building things in. So again, on the outline thing, we see at the moment we have rows grouped by month. So our close month field is currently grouping, all the results are grouped by close months. Let's say we don't have that. Let me remove that. So right now we just have a simple tabular report whereby we are running certain assumptions or all the filters, and these are the results. Okay. So before we start modifying the way this looks, let's look at the filters. Okay. So this is where you're going to specifically say what you're after. All right. So you're going to set up the filters, and you will receive the results. All right. So looking at this particular report type that we're running is the opportunities report, right? Maybe I should go back first, back to our reports tab. Okay. If you try to create a new report, right, because I went and edited the existing. If you try to create a new report, the system will ask you which object would you run the report on, right? Are you querying the accounts? Are you querying, for example, opportunities, as was in our case? Right? Or are you maybe after campaigns, or maybe cases, customer support reports, cases, right? So any object that you wish, you can create a report. You pick the report type, right? So in our case, it's opportunities. And this is how you create a new report, and you're back to the familiar screen of the report builder, where again you have two tabs here, filters and outline. Okay. So again, in the filters, right? So right now we're running the opportunities report. You can see that here. It tells you what report type you're running. And why is that important? It's important because the fields that are available will only show you the fields which are on the opportunity page. And that's why at the beginning I mentioned that it's important that you're familiar with the object you're running. So in our case, it's opportunities. So you know which fields you're after. Otherwise, obviously, we have many fields in there. You see that already from scratch, your report is populated with fields in there, right? So we have the opportunity owner, we have the account name there, opportunity name. So it's already have some information in there. Right? So it makes it easier. So let's look at how to use the filters. To use the filters, you simply select the field you're running or you're after. You want to use as a filter. Let's say we want to use the record type, opportunity record type, right? So you can either, if you see that, if you scroll it, if you see it, great. If not, you can just start typing opportunity record type. Okay, and you see that the filter is automatically showing here. There is already few other filters used in here, right? So we'll go through this. So opportunity record type, and we put equal, and because it's a pick list, we already have this pick list in there, right? So I can select new business after new business opportunity, and apply the filter. Okay, so the report is automatically updated with the new business opportunities only. And you see some other assumptions. So we have show me all opportunities. That's been already there, right? Again, if you click on that filter, it'll open this little pop-up box where you can specify. Right? You see the close date of the opportunity is already pre-filtered, right? So you can see the you can specify the range, whether you want all close dates or just particular data point. Let's keep it at current fiscal quarter. You can see the status, right? Whether it's all opportunities or maybe just open ones. Right? So again, these filters will be obviously different for different objects, right? Should we run the cases report, you will need to know which fields to use in the case report, right? Perhaps you want a case type, only show me onboarding cases. Perhaps case status, only show me open onboarding cases, right? But this is how you, in the filter tab, this is how you adding filters. So right now we're kind of looking at the open opportunities with the current fiscal quarter date. This is, as I said, is just the tabular format. Let's say we want to summarize it to kind of have it a little bit nicer to look at. So the outline tab will do just that. Right, so you can group the rows. Let's group the rows by perhaps stage. Okay, stage. Click on it. And you automatically see the stage came up here as a grouping field, right, including the subtotal. So you see the stage is here as a group. And we can see that all these opportunity records are at the sales qualified stage. There is another two at the need confirmed. Right, don't forget this is just a preview, right? Again, if we feel like we're ready to look at the all the results, we can always run the report. Hopefully it's not going to take too long. Okay, we're getting 1,000 opportunities in there in that report. And you can see that it's summarized by stage, right? So starting with one qualified first stage, all these opportunities in there, right? Still too many, still hard to look, so let's edit it. Let's go back to the edit, back to the familiar screen of the report builder. And let's say we want to restrict it a bit further, right? So I'm going back to the filters and say that I just want to look at the opportunities which are owned by a single person, right? So I'm going to add a new field, new filter, record owner, opportunity owner, and I'm just after, let's say, well, it could be a case owner, right? So opportunity owner, and I do contain instead of equal, because I'm not sure about the person's full name. Okay, so for example, you can always do that. Okay, that's better. So we got a little bit less opportunities now. Looks like 7 in total in the preview, and so that's a bit better to look at. So we demonstrated that you can group things. You can group multiple ways, right? Let's say I also want to group it by not only by stage, but also, let's see what else you can, by quarter, right? That's a good one. So fiscal period, right? Another grouping level. You see it popped up here. So we have everything by stage and by fiscal period. Let's move this around, right? I can drag and drop. So everything rolls in the Q3 at the moment, and there are opportunities at this stage. Okay, so that's the grouping. You can then also group the columns, right? Let's say, which would basically create a matrix report, right? So you're grouping on the rows already. You can group the columns. Let's see if we can group something reasonable. Maybe maybe forecast category. See if that works. Okay, so you see what that done. It created two groupings, quarter and stage on the rows, and the category of opportunity on the columns. And just gives us a count. At the moment, we could add the total opportunity values here to show in this matrix report. Right? If you think that's too much, we can always remove the grouping by simply clicking on that, and we're back here. Okay, columns, right? That's the last bit here on the left side. You can always add more columns or remove simply. You know, if I feel like maybe the some field here, maybe probability is not very useful, I can just go here and remove that column. I can always drag and drop, right? Let's say I change my mind and I think probability is quite useful. I can always search for it and drag and and just click on it, and it should come up right here. Alright, so it's added at the end. You can always drag and drop it whatever position you feel like it's useful. Okay, so that's the adding of the columns. There is few more fancy things you can do with the columns, right? You can bucket the columns, right? Let's say you like the let's say the source of the opportunity, right? It's good, but it's maybe too detailed, right? Maybe you don't need all the different sources there. Maybe it just matters that if it came from marketing team or it came directly from a sales team, right? You can always group that. So if you go to the which is called bucket, right? You could put into buckets. So if you go to delete the particular field here, or you can also do it from here at the bucket column, right? So in our case, I guess the quickest here is go here and bucket this column. Okay. So right now it tells you there are 4 values in the field called lead source. Right? So it automatically knows, because you started it from the field, it knows you want to bucket this one. Okay. So let's say this is all sales related, so I want to move it to a new bucket. Okay. So I now see that out of 4 values, 3 of them sit in bucket called sales related, and 1 is not assigned, right? I can take the 1 value and move it to another bucket, right? And that would be marketing. Okay. And that is it. There is no value which is unbucketed. So if I now obviously need to name that field, so I can name it whatever I want. So category or OP category. Okay, and apply that field, and we will now see that the new field is there automatically. And it is basically a bucket field. So at the moment, all these values obviously sit in the sales related bucket. Okay, so that's how you use the bucket field. It's very useful, right? If you think about, just want to look at the list of opportunities, for example, and you just want to group everything that's below 100K, right? So let's do that quickly here, right? So if I'm looking at my opportunities, I want to see everything below 50K is just very small, right? You can bucket that quickly. So let's say my opportunities below 50K would be small ones, and anything above, right? I can add another range here, so 50 to let's say 75 would be medium, and then anything above 75 would be big, and you know, this would be like for example OP size, right? And that OP size is automatically in here, right? And the benefit of having that as a separate field is now you can group everything by it, right? So for example, right, going back to the groups in the outline, right? Currently I'm grouping by fiscal period and stage, right? Let's say remove the stage here and remove the fiscal period, and I just add the OP type here. It's coming up. Oops, sorry, that was the name. OP size, was it? Yeah. Okay, you see it's coming up here as a field. And you see everything is now grouped into my buckets, small and too small and 5 big. Okay, so this is quite handy, right? Again, whether we're talking about cases, right? Maybe you want to group your cases based on the time you spent on it, right? Anything below 30 minutes, anything above, or whether it's opportunities like that, you know, very useful to do a bucketing field, right? Again, if we now run the report, we see the full results. So this is kind of it on the report builder, right? So again, it'll take a little while to kind of get used to these 2 tabs here, get used to that you can modify the column and fields, and you can group things in the outline, and in the filters, you specifying the filters that you're filtering the results based on. Right. There is another field other than bucket column field. There is a formula column field. Now, don't want to spend too much time on it. It's a bit more technical, but maybe just to show you what's possible on that formula field and the way these work. Let me open quickly my recent report. I should have one built in there. Okay, and I'm going to hide the details and show the subtotals just for the demo purpose. Okay, there we go. So with the formula field, with the formula field, what you can do is you can show a percentage of the groups, right? In this case, we're looking at sum of opportunities by month, right? So in July I have 800K of opportunities, in June I have 100K, right? They're all adding up to my total opportunity book, which is 900, right? And let's say I want to see percentage of what's the contribution, right? So I see that 12% of my total sit in June, 88% sit in July, right? The way you would do that, you would create a new formula column. Right. You basically, when you click on the new formula column, you'll see this little formula edit thing. I would recommend going to the full editor, whereby you can navigate that, picking the field you want to use and the functions. The function I mentioned is the parent group val. It's a bit technical. You can always reach out to me directly should you be interested in this kind of thing. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time because this is a little bit beyond what most of you would ever need or use. So going back here, we've covered the outline, we've covered the filters. There are a bunch of buttons here at the top of the reports, right? So we still don't run it, we're just still looking at the builder here. So obviously you can run it, you can close it, you can go to the report properties, right, where you can edit the name of the report, right? And you can also, don't worry about the unique name, that's the for the system. You can also add the description here. So as a best practice, when you build some report, it's always good to put a quick comment here, what it shows. And then you obviously need to save it in the folder, right? So when you select the folder, now you'll see all folders here, or maybe just you want to put it to the created by me. You can maybe put it to a private report so nobody else can see it, or maybe you just dump it to the public report, right? So you can select the folders. Let's say we want to go old folder and put it to, let's say, this folder here, and we can save it there. Okay, so that's that. We can obviously save and run it. And there is one kind of new thing. You can quickly add a chart, right? By clicking that, it'll pop a quick chart automatically. You see, I haven't done anything really here, right? If you don't like the chart, one click, disappeared. Right? So let's explore that a little bit here. You can obviously, there's another button called feedback, right? So if you feel like writing to Salesforce, feel free to give them a feedback. So on the chart button, right? Very useful. Right? You don't need to, you see, provided you summarized your reports, right? So remember, we have the summary by the opportunity size, right? And let's say you can also summarize the amounts. So let's say the amount, opportunity amount, I want to summarize it. Okay, so the small summary of small opportunities is 35,000, summary of big is 800, right? If I run the report, okay, I'm getting the summary 35,000, the subtotal, because I summarized the field. Right? And I'm getting 800 for subtotal here and add 90 together. Let's say you want to summarize the expected value as well, which is at the moment is not. You go back to edit and you can click at the field again to summarize it. Okay, so summarize, right, and show the sum. You can average it or whatever. Usually it's the sum that people are after. Okay, so that's that. So the chart, right? So we see now that we can quickly do the chart. It's automatically built. Let's say you don't like it, right? So there is a chart properties here, very important, right? So you're still in a report, right? We haven't even go to the dashboards. Forget the dashboards, right? We're still in a report. We have the chart here, which we can play with, right? So this automatically system generated for us. You see the if you don't like it, you can obviously play around with the design here. If we want to, for example, stuck it here, we can't at the moment because we're only summarizing by one value, which is the OP size. Maybe we just want a donut, right? So it's automatically creates. You can obviously add the title to the chart. You can then say what values the chart should show. Maybe after the amount. Right. And again, the reason these are showing because they are in the report, right? Remember, I summarized the amount and the probability as well, right? If you go back to the report, you'll see that the probability field is summarized here. For some reason, it's been there. But the one I actively summarized was the amount. Right? Therefore, you can use it in the chart. So very important, chart will not be able to read the data from your tabular report, right? If I remove this grouping and just have a tabular report, right? You see I cannot add chart, right? So that's very important. You need to group it by something. Because chart, what is chart, right? It's a grouping of data. It's not the data itself. Therefore, let's group it again quickly, right? So let's say I'll group it by account name this time. Okay, grouping the rows by account. Okay. And now now we can add the chart. So I'll get the values by account. See, automatically system populated the account because I'm grouping by accounts, and the sum of amount because I have summarized the amount here. If I remove that summary and if I summarize expected value, the system will use that instead. Okay, you can always edit the properties, as I said, different type of charts, and then yeah, that's kind of it on this side. So you can play with that to see what that does exactly. But that's how you quickly add the chart and quickly remove it should you wish to. Now, maybe we just want to see the list and we don't want to see the subtotals here, a bit annoying. So you can always run a report when you kind of almost ready to show it. And there are a few more functions you see at the top of the report, right? So as with everything, when you create a new thing, you should save it, right? So when you hit save, it'll ask you where you want to save it and what you want to name it. Okay, so let's save it as a opportunities report 1 and in my private reports. Okay, so that's now saved. Okay, you can see that the chart looks decent, but the table is a little bit too messy. I don't necessarily need to see the subtotal, right? You can always modify it, but looking at these things here, so these little settings here, you can, this is quite handy, quite often we do use this. Remove the subtotals in the chart, right? Sorry, in the table, right? So you see that it's now a little bit easier to read. It just show one line item, right? No subtotals. This one record is a bit annoying as well, right? So maybe I can remove the record counts. Okay, disappeared. Okay, that's a bit better, right? What else can I remove to make it a bit more easier to read, right? Maybe I don't need all the details. I just want to see the account and pipeline, right? So maybe we can remove all the details, right? And the reason these fields stay, why did they stay, right? Because we're grouping by account, and we're summarizing the amount, and the probability was summarized there, right? So it's there. So that's how it works, right? Do you want to see more? You can summarize more. Let's say I don't like probability, right? And it's a mistake. It shouldn't be there summarized. I go back to the edit. Okay, let's hope our production will be a little bit faster than the testing environment. Okay, there we go, something's happening. Okay, so going back to the preview limited number, that's fine, yeah. Okay, looks like I can't do anything on here to remove it. I would then, let's see here, filters, outline, nope, that's it. I'll run it again and then show the details, right? Let's get the details back and go back to the edit. And you can see that some of these things are not yet fully optimized. Lightning is fairly new from Salesforce, and the report builder is very new. It's been just introduced several months back. So you can see that some of these buttons are still missing, right? Like the bringing back the details. I'd like to do that from the report builder. I don't need to go back to the report and bring the details and come back to the report builder. So they are still optimizing these things. Okay, here we go. So going back to the percentage we said, and remove that summary. Okay, now this is no longer summarized. Okay, going back to the run. Here is my report. I can hide the details again. And this is it. Okay, so let's say if you have a lot of data and you're just curious, oh, the Barclays, what do I have with Barclays, right? You can always click on it. You'll see that immediately the records narrow down to what you clicked, right? This is very useful, right? Somebody sends you the big dashboard, something catch your eye, you can always, without impacting anything, right? You can bring back the details. Right? Unless you hit the save button, whatever you're doing in the report is not going to get saved, right? So nobody's going to get after you what you've done to my report, right? You can easily, with one click, right? Look at the Colombia, what's happening there, what's the deal there, right? Or maybe jump credit, right? So you can quickly see this filtering, right? Again, you don't like the chart, you can quickly remove it, add it back. Again, until you click the save, you know, the report will go back to normal when anyone else look at it. Okay, so this is how you navigate, really. This is the report result, including the chart. You know, you can also here, without even going to the report, right? Let's say you run the report and you realize, oh, actually, I don't want to see Barclays here, right? You can actually access the filters. Remember the filters, right? You can access them directly from the report here, right? So instead of going back to the edit and going to the filters and filtering Barclays out here, when you're running the report, you can always access the filter here, right, and modify. But here you can only modify the ones that are already in use. So if you need to use new filter, as in our case, we need to remove the Barclays as account name, the filter is not here. So I can only change that here. For example, I want to see I don't know, not just current quarter, but maybe current and next quarter. Can quickly do that, apply, and the report recalculates and shows multiple quarters now. So if I want to remove Barclays, going back here, going to the filters and typing the account name. So I need to know that is the account name, is the filter name, field name. Okay. Clicking the account name pops up as new filter here. So I want to say that does not contain Barclay. Apply. Alright, you see the Barclays disappeared. So the opportunities will not show any opportunities which is under Barclay account names. Alright, and if I run the report again, it is there. Okay, so let me have a quick look. This is pretty much covering. Now there's a question whether reports can be scheduled to auto-run. I don't think so at the moment. You can subscribe if you can subscribe to the report, right? Which means the report, you know, will come to you, right? So this is how you schedule it, right? You can get something sent to you. Now, bear in mind, you can send it to others as well, but they have to be Salesforce users. You can't send it to people who are not. What you can do is you can deliver it to yourself and have an Outlook rule where you're gonna forward anything to other people, right? If you wish to do so. So that's one way to go around it if the other people don't have Salesforce accounts. Right? But normally you just send it to yourself or to the other people who work, for example, in your team on the particular, for example, deal or case queue. Okay. So this is pretty much it on the filters. Now there is a little bit more, I believe, a little bit more filters in here when we run this. Let's see what we have. Oops. There we go. Not really, not much there. Show values on the dashboard here. Okay. This is it. You'll see that these things are really quickly building, so you can kind of quickly test you know, what it looks like, right? And again, if you feel like you know, you want to summarize by something else, remember, before you can display it in a chart, it needs to be grouped in the report, right? So you go back to the edit, and in the report you use the outline here where you're grouping the rows and grouping the columns, right? So the grouping rows here, for example, right, if we again want to group it by something else again, lead source, right? So you just simply type it here, and now it's not only grouped by account but also by lead source, right? Maybe I can move the lead source first and then the accounts. Okay, once you group it, then you see actually the chart responded immediately, right? And oops, and it automatically used that new grouping in a chart, right? You can then you know, even now select the stacked bar, right, whereby we see by lead source, we see the opportunities by lead source and by account name. If we run it now, you can see that, right? Again, anything catch your eye on these reports, you can simply tap it. You see everything else grayed out. That means you're filtering this particular one component, right? It gives you a detail when you hover over it. But right now we clicked on it, and you see that the table below is automatically filtered, right? So I found this quite powerful, very easy to use. You create a report, add a nice chart on top of it, and you can subscribe your managers, and they can simply look at the summary and click through, and these look right. I click at this bar now, it is recalculated, right? I click on it again, and I'm unfiltered everything, and everything is showing up again. Right? You can always, as usual, go directly to the record, right? Let's say I want to go to the Haskell account, or maybe to the JP Morgan opportunity as well. Right? So if you open a new type, you can directly go through there to the account in question or to the opportunity that you click. And it's a little bit sluggish here as a sandbox environment, but so that's it. That's really how you use the reports. So let's quickly go through the dashboards now. Two tabs, right? Report type we just covered. Right. Dashboard tab, right? So you all will have these two tabs, right? You'll see that the dashboard tab looks awfully similar to report tab, right? You see your recent dashboards that you accessed, right? System remembers them, so you don't have to search for them. It's just going to show up in the tab here. You see the ones you created. You see your private ones, the secret dashboards you may be running on somebody, right? For example, you see all dashboards, right? And you also have the folders, right? So the sales operations team is going to maintain the folders. Will try to make sure that they are in certain structured way, so they make logically sense there. But most of you don't really need to be using or searching for things too much, because again, in a recent, these views are very helpful, right? You can even designate stuff as favorites, and it's just gonna come as a favorite, right? So again, on the right side, so these are individual dashboards that are out there, right? You have some action buttons here. You can view the dashboard, you can edit it, you can subscribe to it, right? Which again, subscribing means the dashboard will be emailed out, right? And these dashboards look really nice when emailed out, right? Unlike the current Salesforce, where they look really not so good, and reports especially. Right? These ones look really nice on the mobile devices as well, on iPhones. So definitely a good way to keep in touch with the data. Right? You can subscribe and send stuff to yourself every week. See how the week was, whether you're monitoring cases, opportunities, contracts, or what have you. Right? What else we have around dashboards? You can move them. Yeah, I mean, some of these are admin functions, so not all of you will see all of that. Okay, so again, you can create a new dashboard, right, which will open a new empty dashboard, which you need to put name on and description, right? Again, always use description. It's there for a reason, right? And the folder, right? So if you see there is a folder structure, try to use it logically, right? So if you sit in Americas, go to the Americas, you'll maybe see subfolders there for client service. Maybe you client service in Americas, so click on client service and then create a folder within that, right? One thing that's new in the Lightning is the subfolders, right? So we're very excited about the subfolders because it's going to organize things a little bit, right? So if I go back to the dashboard, okay, let's wait until it loads. This is how the new dashboard looks, right? It just looks like a chocolate bar, really, right? It's completely empty with the little tiles. Okay, you can start adding the components, right? Each of the little tile is called component, right? And one thing to remember regarding the relationship between reports and dashboards. What is dashboard, right? It's just the front face or the presentation of the reports. Right? So behind every single tile, you can put one report. Right? So as a best practice, what we normally do, if I go to reports, and if I look at all the folders, when you're building a dashboard, right, that means you have many reports you want to look at one place, right? So for example, we have a dashboard which shows, okay, that's not the best example, one sec. Okay, we have a dashboard which shows all these reports in one place. Therefore, when you're building a dashboard, you start building reports first. Always you have to build the reports first, right? So create a report folder, populate all the reports you're after, right? So in this case, we're showing like new business, we're showing some forecasts, renewals, losses, we're showing some, Jeopardy and all that. Once you have all the reports there, right, and they all look, as we just covered the reports, right? They all look familiar. Okay, it just takes a little bit, but yeah, that's the report we just covered, right? So you can just give it a sec while it loads. Okay, once you have all this built, then you can start bringing them into single place called dashboard. Right? So all these reports are obviously, this one doesn't show the data, but it's the same thing. Right? If you edit the report, you are back in the familiar screen of report builder. Okay, you got outline, filters. At the moment there's no result, right? Which happens if you have too many filters. Right? The moment you start removing some of these filters, you'll see that data will pop in quickly, right? And there it is, right? So if you happen to filter something too narrowly, you get no result. Okay, let me leave that. So here we are back to the dashboard, right? So let's say we've finished all our reports and they are all nicely sitting in a single folder. In this case, it's the Sales Specialist Daily Dashboard, right? I can start using these reports and display it all in one place, right? So this is the dashboards I would like them to display here, right? You click Add Component. You locate the folders, right? So, for example, I want to see all folders, and I'll find that Sales Specialist folder. Okay, and these are all the reports in the folder. Right? I can start using one by one, or you could just again, all this familiar view is everywhere, right? Your recent, your created by you, or your private reports, right? So all these views are very useful. To get you really fast what you need. So let's say we want to get this particular report, new business pipeline, this is the next fiscal quarter. I click select. So I'm bringing this report. Hopefully it's gonna, okay, no data, so that's not very good example. Let me bring something that will have a data. So I'll just use this report for demo purpose. Okay, there we go. This is our report. Husky and Barclays is there. So you can now see that the you kind of have ability. So using the report data, right? The report is this one, opportunities report 1 we've just created. You can select the type, how you want to display that, right? Maybe you just want to show the dial or all these good things, right? We'll use to that from our current Salesforce. Right? One thing that's very new that I will want your attention to is the table, right? The legacy table, we all know, wasn't very useful, only had 2 text columns and 1 numeric column. There is a Lightning table now, which is amazing. You can put as many columns as you want. You can put as many the summary fields, right? So this is really good. You can really kind of show the list of things just with the amount of columns you need. In there, right? So let's use that actually for an example here. So again, this is the Lightning table. It's a new component available. So once we select a report, we select how we want to show it. You can always modify things, right? So let's say this first one, owner role. Let's say I don't want owner role, right? So it's automatically showing it here. You can always remove it, right? I'll remove the owner role, it disappears. Right? Great. Okay, so you can always do that. You can also add new group. Let's say I want to group it by amount, right? Maybe some. Okay, that looks really ugly, so I'm probably going to revert that, right? So you can remove that. Okay, so you can modify here the groupings. Okay, let's say this looks good. Maybe I want a descending order, and by maybe amount. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's just add it. Okay, there you go. Right? This is it. You will quickly see you can stretch things around. You can make it as big or as small as you like. Right? You can make it really teeny here, right? In a corner. If you're just showing some value like an amount, you can just show a number, right? And let me show you how the dashboard can look, right? Like this. This is just an example of kind of half-baked dashboard, really, but you can see you can show stuff as just value, right? Like what's our new business, or you can show this little dial. You can show these bar charts that we're familiar, right? You can so the donut chart. The upcoming meetings would be probably best in this kind of this kind of tabular format, right? So again, you can make it as small, as big as you like. You have enough space. I don't think there is a limit to the components as far as I remember, but I can double check that. We know that in the current Salesforce there is a limit of amount of components or the tiles you can have. I think in the new Salesforce there should not be a limit, but I may be wrong on that one. I didn't quickly check that. Okay, let me see. So let's save the changes we made to this new dashboard, right? And now we're running the dashboard, right? This is how it looks here, right? Just a single table here. You can always edit that, and we are back to this chocolate bar screen, whereby you can add more components, right? Let's say I want another report, and this time I want to show it as maybe like this, right? Okay. And again, when I'm done with it, I can, it's asking you to save. Whenever you're leaving the screen, it'll ask you whether you want to save it. If you didn't, just so you don't lose your data. Okay, so it's just second component we've added into that, right? Again, you can subscribe to these dashboards. You may be able to clone it, depends on your functions. And one thing on the dashboards, right? Unlike reports, when you go to the report, it runs automatically the latest data, right? Dashboards don't. When you look at the dashboard, you do need to check the header. Like, for example, this one wasn't refreshed for a month, right? So be aware when you're looking at the dashboards, always click that refresh button here to make sure you're looking at the most recent run, right? The reason, obviously, Salesforce doesn't want to automatically refresh stuff because that would drain a lot of network resources when everyone just refreshing just by looking or just by accessing the dashboard. Right? So they don't do that automatically. You do need to click that refresh button. Right? So sometimes people do forget, and they're looking at really old stuff. So that's a bit of a catch there. So again, if you click refresh, you'll see that refreshing, right? Depending how many components you have, it may take forever, but hopefully in the new Salesforce it will be real quick. So again, the bigger the dashboard, the longer it takes to refresh. Okay, so you can see that what's the data as of. Okay, let me go back here. What other filters we have? What other options we have? Not much here. Oh yeah, that's it. There are dashboard properties, right? How did I access this screen? So again, if you're running the dashboard, this is our dashboard. You go back to the, you can see that you cannot refresh it more than a minute. Again, Salesforce is protecting their network resources, not to allow you refresh too often. So if you go back to the edit the dashboard, okay. And if you go to this little wheel here, the properties, right? This is a good one, right? They allow us to customize things a little bit, so it doesn't look too boring, right? So you can, for example, use the dark theme, right? Which I quite like, right? And if you save that, look at that. Okay, save it, run it. Okay, you can again, you can quickly impress your manager by running these reports and delivering accurate data in a really nice, unusual format that we're not used to, right? So again, if you go to Edit Dashboard and the options, you can pick your desired theme of the dashboard. Okay. Other than that, there is nothing much here really. View Dashboard as will probably be restricted. I think it's always going to be viewed as the person who runs it. I think we'll see how that works. Okay, one more thing. Filter, dashboard filter, right? After you build all these tiles in the dashboard, you may want to add a filter on top of it just for extra ease of whoever, let's say your manager is looking at it, right? And let's say, the manager covers 3 regions, right? America and APAC and EMEA. And ideally, he wants to see everything, but he would like to drill down quickly on the Americas, how is Americas doing, right? So what you can do, you can add a filter on the entire dashboard. All right. So again, how do I access that? All right, you're in a dashboard here. You click Edit, and you can add plus filter. Okay, so we're adding dashboard level filter. Now, it's important that if you do that, what's happening, right? Every report behind this dashboard will be filtered using that field as a filter. So what does that mean, right? Well, if using a field, for example, we're going to, let's pick something that's actually in so opportunity name, right? Well, that's not the best idea. Maybe we can use the account name. Let's say we're just covering a few accounts, and then we can use the contains. So I'm covering Barclays, and another contains, and I want to see Husky specifically. Okay. But yeah, you can do obviously anything else. You can do opportunity types or case types or whatever or regions, right? Usually these dashboard level filters are really good for the entire geographies or countries even, right? So when you do that, when you start using that filter, right, we've added, you see it's on top of the dashboard. We run the dashboard, save it. Okay, so nothing happens, everything's good, right? Now you see that there is a box here now with your filter value, right? So you can have the whole EMEA region, right? The person comes here, click on it, you'll see the dashboard is automatically refreshed, showing just the filtered value. In our case, just the Barclays opportunity, and in every component, right? Again, if you use the field, which does not exist in multiple components, all the other components will show up empty or no data, right? So again, for example, if we have the dashboard full of opportunity reports, it's easy, right? Because we can just pick any of the opportunity field, such as geography, and use that, right? But if you're mixing, you have contracts and cases and opportunities in one dashboard, then this kind of filter may not work very well. Okay, I think we are on the top of the hour, unfortunately. Hopefully that gave you a good idea how to run the dashboards. We didn't have much time for Q&A, looks like, but I think we pretty much covered these things. I guess one more thing on the dashboard really that's very handy. You can drill through it, right? So if you're a manager looking at the dashboard and want to see more things behind this, right? So I'm going to unfilter. Okay, it's refreshed. You can always just one click into that and you're back in the report, right? So you're in the underlying report where you can further click, as I showed you, just look at the Barclays here, or further filter quickly without impacting anything, right? You're not overwriting anything. So real quick to get from this high-level dashboard with many data, right? You can click through the link to get to the underlying report, and in there, right, if it doesn't have a chart, you can just click this one button, right, and the chart is right there, right? And if you're interested further, right, you can drill through into the particular narrow bit, right? So very easy to access that that level of detail, really just a few clicks, right? You can also directly, let's say I want directly in the dashboard and I just want to click here, what is this, right? Immediately take me to the report, which is already filtered by that value I clicked on, right? Very handy. Okay, hopefully you found this useful. If you have any pressing question that I didn't cover, email me, right? My name is Robert Patrick. I sit with Sales Operations team in London. And again, thanks again for coming, and hopefully you find this useful. Thank you.